Hare Krishna. Jai Radha glories to some glories, all glories to some devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Bhagavata, all glories to Śrīla Prabhupada, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru Dev, Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiriyet Shavatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Hyapatrani Vidhunoti Suhasatam Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Chari Prabhu, and thanks to all the senior, God brothers. I beg you for your permission so that I can give this class properly. And please forgive me for any mistakes I may perform knowingly or unknowingly. Hare Krishna. So today we will be covering Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 11th canto, chapter 23. So we are starting a new chapter. However, it's very much connected with the previous chapter. So we may be covering part of the previous chapter in summary so that we can, stay with the sar, with the rhythm as it goes on. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 11th canto, chapter 23, verse 1. Shri Bhadrayaniruvacha Sa evam ashamsita udvena Bhāgavata mukhyena dashraha mukhyaha Sabhajayan pratyavacho mukundas Tamabhashe shamaniya virya. Shri Bhadrayaniruvacha Saevam ashamsita udvena Bhāgavata mukhyena dasharaha mukhyaha Sabhajayan vritya vacho mukundas Tam abhashe shamaniya viryaha. Shri Bhadrayaniruvacha Saevam ashamsita udvena Bhāgavata mukhyena dasharaha mukhyaha Sabhajayan Vrityavacho Mukundas Tamabhashe Shamaniya Virya. Shri Bhadrayaniruvacha Saevam ashamsita udvena Bhāgavata mukhyena dasharha mukhyaha Sabhajayan Bhritya Vacho Mukundas Tam Abhashe Shamaniya Viryaha. Anyone from the ladies? Shri Bhadrayaniruvacha Sayevam Ashamsita Udvena Bhāgavata Mukhyena Danshara Mukhyaha Sabhajayam Bhritya Vacho Mukundas Tama Abhashe Shamaniya Viryaha. Shri Bhadrayani Uvacha Saevam Ashamsita Udvena Bhāgavata Mukhyena Dasharha Mukhyaha Sabhajayan Bhritya Vacho Mukundas Tam Abhashe Shamaniya Viryaha. Shri Bhadrayaniruvacha Saevam Ashamsita Udvena Bhāgavata Mukhyena Dasharha Mukhyaha Sabhajayan Bhritya Vacho Mukundas Tam Abhashe Shamaniya Viryaha. Shri Bhadrayaniruvacha. Shri Shukdev Goswami said, Saha, he, evam, thus, Ashamsitaha, respectfully requested, Uddhavena, by Uddhav, Bhagavata, of the devotees, Mukhyena, by the greatest, Dasharha, of the dynasty of Dasharha, the Yadus, Mukhyaha, the chief, Sabhajayan, praising, Bhritya, of his servant, Vachaha, the words, Mukundaha, Lord Mukunda, Krishna, Tam, to him, Abhashe, began to speak, Shamaniya, most worthy of hearing about, Viryaha, whose omnipotency. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Shukdev Goswami said, Lord Mukunda, the chief of the Dasharhas, having thus been respectfully requested by the best of his devotees, Shri Uddhava first acknowledged the fitness of his servant's statements. Then the Lord, whose glorious exploits are most worthy of being heard, began to reply to him. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, Uddhava must have said something, right? As we understand. Because Lord first, meditated on his statement, the question he has asked. And this relates to the earlier chapter. So the setting is, Shukdev Goswami is narrating this to Parikshit Maharaj. And this was also repeated in Naimisharanya by Sutta Goswami to the sages, whose spokesperson is Shaunaka Rishi. And here, Lord Krishna, after the Yadus have fought among themselves, he is resting under the tree, and that's where, Uddhav comes, right? And Lord Krishna is giving him this message to take to Narayana Rishi. It's very interesting that when somebody wants to give you the message, then you don't pay so much attention. But if you have to take the message, you have to understand it properly to take it to someone else, right? So now that Uddhav has to take this message to Narayana Rishi, in Bhattika Ashram, he needs to make sure that he understands it well so that he doesn't change it, any of the aspects, any of the principles. So he's asking for details. And in the previous chapter, this is where Lord Krishna is listing the various elements of, material nature. So in this nature, how many number of elements are there? So we'll be looking at that particular aspect, the analytical enumeration. And then Lord Krishna immediately comes down to identifying the purpose of this material world. And from the purpose, he is coming down to identifying that there is super soul and then there is Jiva, the living entity. And the living entity should not engage in sense gratification, some and all. And why? Because once a living entity engages in sense gratification, they get illusioned and cannot realize the self. And when he says that do not, engage in satisfying your senses, and his specific, statements are, therefore, Uddhav, do not try to enjoy sense gratification with the material senses. See how illusion based on material dualities prevent one from realizing the self. And this is where Uddhav is inquiring that how this must be a very difficult matter. And Lord says that one who is determined to realize the self, they do not care about outwardly conditions. And this is where he is giving the glimpse on this chapter. Lord Krishna in the previous chapter itself is saying that once, again, one who is engaged in devotional service should not care. So there is an aspect of carelessness and carefreeness. So they should be carefree from the perspective as how others are treating them. Even if others are saying abusive words, insulting you, even behaving badly towards you, even causing, even physical harm to you, you should tolerate it. So this particular chapter is actually glorifying tolerance, right? And Uddhav is hearing this, and he is surprised when Lord Krishna is saying that a devotee could be mistreated in the material world to such an extent that people could be saying insulting things and doing insulting actions, passing foul air and all the kind of nonsense, and still the devotee has to tolerate and engage in devotional service. And Uddhav says that only your devotees with your, shelter can be so tolerant, can perform this act of tolerance. So please help me understand this. Only you can explain me, O Krishna. So when Lord Krishna hears this from Uddhav, this is where this chapter starts. And here, Lord, he's meditating, like he's trying to understand. Means he understands very well. He's looking at the question and he's looking at what Uddhav wants to know. And here, Uddhav, he's a disciple of Brihaspati, not a normal person. Brihaspati is the spiritual master of the demigods, right? So, from that perspective, he narrates him the story of Avantī Brāhmaṇa. So in the country of Avantī, there used to be a Brahman. And he had actually engaged in mercantile and agriculture. And he had become very wealthy. So Lord Krishna is narrating. However, later on he became a sannyasi. So he actually starts with the negatives. Because he had said so many negative things a devotee would have to experience. So he's starting there. There was a sannyasi in the Avantī country. And he was very old, and when he would go from village to village, begging for food, and he was a 3-dandi sannyasi, right? 3-dandi, the 3 sticks, they represent mind, body and words, completely devoted to Krishna. He was mistreated by many wicked people, and he was even harassed. People would take away his sticks, people would take away his japmala, and then show him as if they want to give it back to him, these wicked people, and they would not give it. They would harass him. When he would sit down to, honor prasadam, they would come and even urinate on it, pass foul air. They would, call him bad names, say that, and yet he tolerated. Because he understood that this must be the reaction of his past deeds, of his past karma. So it would be interesting to know what his past karmas were. He, when he was young, as a wealthy Brahman, he was engaged in agriculture and trade, mercantile activities. And so he had become very wealthy. However, he did not engage that wealth in his own sense gratification, even proper sense gratification. He did not even let his family members enjoy any part of the wealth. He was just attached to the wealth. He was just accumulating more and more and more. It's like an obsession. And he was experiencing lust, anger and greed, the 3 gates of hell. Yet at the same time, he was not seeking sense gratification. It was more of an obsession. And it so happened by providence, by time, by his own relatives, the thieves and so many other factors, all that wealth is stolen. And he's in great anxiety. He had spent all his life collecting this wealth, and when he's old, everything is gone. So in great anxiety, he's thinking, oh, what will come of me? What will become of me? Means I don't have anything. And when meditating, being a Brahman, he remembered what he had learned. And so he was able to pacify his mind that this must be a special blessing of Lord Hari. And realizing this to be a special blessing of Lord Hari, he understood that now onward he has to focus on giving, devoting his life in the service of the Lord. And so he engaged in devotional service, and while engagement, he also got sannyas order, which is one of the regulative principles as provided in the purport. And he was going from village to village. So this is, and while he was being harassed, he sang a song, right? Bhikshu Gita. And the song was that none of the external factors, I'm giving you a summary of the song, is responsible for all this suffering in this material world. It's only your mind. That is the cause of all the suffering that happens and keeps you bound in the cycle of birth, death, old age, disease. And the miseries continue till this mind is controlled. And that's why we simply take to mantra, right? Maha mantra. Mantra means mantra, one that delivers the mind. So delivers the mind from this material bondage. And we seek Maha mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So when we chant, we are seeking, means again, it's a prayer to the Lordship that please engage me in your service. And thus by engagement in the service, our mind will be delivered. I am able to collect 5 lessons from this chapter. First is the material energy, analytical and its purpose. Second is, it is not sensible to satisfy senses. If you seek to satisfy senses, that would be nonsense. Hope it makes sense. And we must understand it because it's for our own benefit. Third lesson is removing thorn with a thorn. We have this material body, yet at the same time, we can use this material body to get out of this material world. Fourth is to understand the formula, right? The science of devotional service. And this is given by Rupa Goswami as the 9 stages. And then the 5th lesson is the 4 defects of conditioned souls. And how this Avantī Brāhmaṇa was influenced by all those 4 defects in his lifetime when he was engaged as a merchant and an agriculturist. So first is, the previous chapter, it started with listing how many number of elements are there. And Uddhav starts this question very interestingly. He's saying that the learned scholars, like not anyone, learned scholars, who have really taken a lot of time in doing analytical study, have listed these material elements differently. Right? Some have said there are 15 of them, some say there are 16 of them, some say there are 25 of them, some say there are 7 of them, some say there are 8 of them. So what is the truth? I want to understand. And Lord's response is very subtle. He says there's all these learned philosophers are under the influence of my potencies. Devi Hesham Gurumai Mam Maya Duratya. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord says that this Mahatmanastu Mam Patha Devim Prakritim Ashraya. So all these learned scholars are under my potency, under the influence of my potency, and what they have said is correct. So a general person would be confused. How could all different numbers be correct? It's very simply said. So Prabhu, when we go to the store to get oranges, right? We look for oranges. Okay, this is an orange. We bring it at home. So it's an orange. Just think that this is an orange. Now we peel it, right? And we keep the peel aside. What do I have? Still an orange, right? Now I split this peel into different slices, and then I take away the outer covering. What do I have? Still an orange. And if I make a preparation from the juice of this orange, or if I use, the other solid material to bake a cake or something, then we would say that's an orange cake, or this is an orange preparation. So which one is orange? And how many oranges are there in this orange? So very nicely, it's, you can understand that every philosopher, Lord Krishna is explaining, is using based on the perception for their analytical study. What is of importance? And he lists various elements there. Now another example that can be given is in this material world. What are the 2 characteristics of this material world? Dukhalem ashashvatam. It's a place of misery, and then nothing is permanent, everything is temporary. An example can be given, is like knife. This material energy you can think as an analogy of knife. In the hand of a thug, right? It's dangerous, it can harm. And in the hand of a surgeon, it can be amazing, right? It can save lives. So it's the same instrument, but who's holding it? So understand what is our state. If we are in that position of thug, actually in India we have this common saying, "Bandar ke haath mein talwar," right? A monkey with a sword in its hand, so it can harm anyone, including itself. So it's very interesting that we need to understand what is our position, how well are we situated in handling this body, right? And it is Atato Brahma Jigyasa. So that's like the first state where we would be looking at how can we proceed further in using this body correctly. So, right, Prabhu, let me just ask you. When you started first driving the car, how was it?
Shaky.
Right? Shaky. But you gave it up? Why not? Why didn't you give it up? It's shaky.
Because we have to do it.
Right. So we are in this material world, and we have to get out of this material world, right? If you want to remove suffering, if you don't want to suffer in this material world, you have to get out. So we have to understand how to use our body correctly, right? This is an amazing vehicle that we have. And believe me, even I am learning, and sometimes we realize we are learning, and we are always student throughout our life. Just recently I was learning about the dietary system, right? We eat all kind of stuff, but then our body has a specific combination of foods that we can have. And our body is amazing in recovering itself from all kind of challenges and tribulations we present it. But we should not mistreat it. So again, it's a blessing, it's a gift given by the Lord. And Srila Bhakti Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he presents a very nice analogy. And he's presenting this analogy from Lord Krishna's pastime itself, to understand, how Lord Krishna comes in this world and how he blesses us. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki jai. Shri Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anant Koti Vaishnava ki jai. So when we are studying material energy, analytical, and then looking at its purpose, we also look at it from the perspective, again before I go to that, there is another example I would like to give, is when we fall sick, right? What do? We seek treatment, right? And when we are gravely sick, we really need treatment immediately, we realize. So first we do is we try to go to a doctor. Do you go to any doctor, or do you want to go to a best doctor there is that you can go to? You want to really go to a qualified doctor. It matters a lot, right? You want to quickly recover. So you just don't pick up, this person's first name appears as a doctor and I go. You want to see how good this doctor is. You actually ask your friends, give me a reference, right? When people come to you, they are really coming to you for that confidence that yes, he's a great doctor, he's going to help me. Right? So from that perspective, we go to the best doctor. So first we have to seek out who's the best doctor. Then that doctor should be able to look at our symptoms and identify what kind of diseases we have, right? And once they identify the symptoms, they prescribe us specific medication. They say, okay, you have to take these tablets, 2 tablets 3 times a day for 5 days. Now we realize 3 tablets, 2 tablets 3 times a day, that's 6 tablets a day, 5 days. That's like 30 tablets. Now if you take all those 30 tablets immediately, is it going to help you? No, there is a prescription. It works in a specific manner. So you follow that process and you get cured. Now let's look at another example. Do you need to know what's in each tablet, the chemical? Do you really need to know that? No. It's been prescribed. And Srila Prabhupada used to give this example that you don't even need to know what's the meaning of Mahamantra, you just chant it. And chant it in a playful mood, like a child is crying for its mother. And you will be delivered. It will cleanse you. And this is where the analogy comes in that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he gives very nicely that when Devaki was there, right? And she was imprisoned with Vasudeva. And Kamsa, he kills the 6 sons of Devaki, the Sadgarbhas. These were the 6 sons of Marichi. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Marichi represents mind. He was an incarnation of mind. And his 6 sons, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsara, right? Lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion and envy. Once, when Lord Brahma deviated, they laughed. So Lord Brahma immediately cursed them to become demons. So they were born as, the 6 sons of Hiranyaksh. And as they were born, Hiranyaksha's son, Kalnemi. So Hiranyaksha was their grandfather. And they, fearing that they would be killed by the demigods, they worshipped Lord Brahma and got the boon that they will not be killed by the demigods. And when Hiranyakashipu hears this, that they are seeking alliance, he was upset. He said, you will be killed by your own father in your next birth. And so Kamsa is the next incarnation of Kalnemi. The next birth of Kalnemi is Kamsa. And he kills these Sadgarbhas, the first 6 sons of Devaki. Now Lord Krishna also appeared in the womb of Devaki, while these 6 also appeared in the womb of Devaki. Does that mean they are at the same level as Lord Krishna? No. Because these are anarthas. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsaras. So before Lord Krishna could appear, Lord Sankarshan had to come in to make the proper arrangement in the womb to clean it up. Right? To make the proper arrangement in the womb of Devaki so that Lord can come. And Devaki here represents bhakti, devotional service. So when Devaki is, in her devotional service is purified, right? When she is purified, when our bhakti is purified, then Lord Krishna can enter our heart. Till then, he resides as super soul. So there is a very subtle yet vast difference between the two phases. So that's the first lesson. We need not understand what this material energy is made up of, understand the purpose of the material energy. And that we have to use this material energy, this very body, to get out of this material world. Then the second is, it is not sensible to satisfy the senses. To satisfy the senses is like starting a fire and then pouring ghee in it. Is the fire going to burn out? No. It's going to become more and more strong. Kamesha, Krodhesha, Rajoguna Samudbhava. Lord Krishna says, he gives this example, Kamesha, Krodhesha, Rajoguna Samudbhava. The lust, born of passion, mode of passion, causes anger. And directly or indirectly you come to anger. When you are looking to get something, lust is trying to acquire for sense gratification. Then, as you are trying to acquire, you may be frustrated. That will cause anger. And if you are able to get it, you become proud. And anybody insults you will also cause anger. So, finally the anger would come in and you would fall down, because anger, as was covered by Giri and Prabhu in the previous class, is mostly in the mode of ignorance. Now, as I was looking at it, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur gives, even the anger could be in different modes. When Lord Brahma, Bhrigu Muni, he comes and does not pay obeisances to Lord Brahma, who is his father, Lord Brahma becomes angry, but uses his intelligence to subdue it, control him. But he did get angry. So it's very interesting. However, because it's the knowledge that causes the pride in mode of goodness. And when people become proud, they easily get offended. And anger is just lurking around the corner to grab the person in the mode of goodness. Mode of passion is fruitive activities. People do a lot of endeavor. And when they are engaged, that's where the verse Kamesha, Krodhesha, Rajoguna Samudbhava applies more. When the predominating mode is mode of passion, there is a tendency to fall down to the mode of ignorance. And then, once one is in ignorance, for speculative purposes, means again, they are constantly getting angry, like the wicked people have been described. So the third lesson is that we understand this material world and use the thorn to remove the thorn. So if we have had any wood chips in the past, we have had so many times, so we would use the needle, which is another thorn, to take out the thorns. That's what we have to do. And this body is perfect boat that has been given to us by the Lord. We are not qualified, it said, the Shastras say. We are not even qualified to get the human form of life, but Lord, out of His causeless mercy, grants us this human body that we have to use properly. And the fourth is the formula, the science of devotional service. Adho Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sango Atho Bhajana Kriya Tatho Anartha Nivrati Sya Tatho Nishta Ruchis Tatha Atha Saktis Tatho Bhavas Tata Prema Bhyudhanchati Sadhakanam Ayam Premna Pradurbhave Bhavet Kramaha. So in the beginning there should be some Shraddha. So this Brahmana Avantī, so I'm going to relate to this Brahmana Avantī now and then. He had that faith, that why is it happening to him? So similarly, the four kind of people, they come to the Lord. They are pious people, is described. So Atato Brahma Jigyasa is the first stage. Like we have, we take shelter. And then we seek the association of devotees. And when we seek the association of devotees, we engage in Sankirtan. And as we engage in Sankirtan, we are, seeking to make further advancement, and we take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. So that's like having that doctor who would be able to deliver us, from the various diseases that we have, so that our mind can be delivered from this material entanglement. And our spiritual master engages us in devotional service. So we carry out that prescribed formula that has been given, like the schedule, right? Minimum 16 rounds daily, 25, minimum of 25, the 4 regulative principles, and so forth. And as we engage in bhajana kriya, so devotional service, what does it do? Anartha nivritti. It removes all kind of anarthas, anartha, that which is not important. And once, as the anarthas are going away, nishtha. So we started with faith, but this is strong faith. Nishtha develops. And with that strong faith, we get interest develop, ruchi. And from ruchi comes asakti, dependence. That this is an essential part of my life, I'm completely dependent. And as we are seeking that asakti, we start seeing more and more shelter, where the bhava increases, the bhava form comes. And as bhava becomes concentrated, we get to the state of prema, the love of Godhead. And now, the 5th lesson is the 4 defects of conditioned souls. We have the 4 propensities. They are propensity to be illusioned. The Avantī Brāhmaṇa, he got illusion differently. He was not illusioned for sense gratification. There's a very nice example that can be given. That as again, there is a lady, she is at the vending machine, she has never seen the vending machine. And somebody says, you put a coin and press something and you may get, a Coke out of it. So 25 cents, this is what this machine takes. She puts the 25 cents and she gets the Coke out. Right? And she's like, wow, it works. Puts another 25 and she's getting another Coke out. And people are lining up behind her, asking, when are you done? And her response is, don't you see I'm winning? She misunderstood the very purpose. She's just thinking that the purpose is to collect. And this is what happened to the Brahman. He got obsessed with wealth, collecting wealth. He was so obsessed with collecting wealth, like this lady who's not drinking the Coke she is collecting. And she's getting from the machine out, but she's not drinking it. Just like that, this Avantī Brāhmaṇa is not enjoying it. He's not letting his family members enjoy. And he said that he didn't use it for religiosity, not even for his sense gratification, which is proper sense gratification. At least something to make you comfortable. And because he was so obsessed, like this lady who snapped at the person, like saying, don't you see I'm winning? He was behaving like that even with his family members. He was not behaving nicely, he was not using sweet words. So they became inimical. He has so much wealth, he doesn't give us anything, he doesn't use it himself, and he treats us so badly. And as he was growing old, and with old, your strength reduces, your physical strength, your mental strength, and that's where his relatives, they took away some of his wealth. The thieves took away some of his wealth. Agriculture depends on rain. So the rain, timing varied, so his money in agriculture, was swept off, all his investment. His trade had serious issues, they were taken away. They were taken away by normal men also. People who provide his services, they take. And then the government, with taxes and so many other factors. So all his money was gone. So this lady would only be able to understand when all the cans are taken away, right? Then she said, what was I doing? I was spending all my money, similarly like he was spending all his time in trying to earn this wealth, and all of it is taken away. So he was in deep anxiety. Yet your attitude determines your altitude. He didn't just become angry. Even though he was influenced by lust, anger and greed, the 3 gates of hell, He meditated on this factor, why did it happen? And then he recognized that this must be a special mercy of Lord Hari. He gave the example, so many times it has happened, right? In Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam there are so many stories where extremities are experienced by the devotees, right? By different living entities. Like a Jamil. He was spending his time and suddenly he realized when Vishnu Dutas came. We have Pingala's story. She was waiting for Purāṇa, but nothing happened, and finally she developed renunciation. There's so many examples like that. Any examples Prabhus would like to share where extremities happen? Extreme conditions. Dhruv Maharaj, he wanted to get his father's lap. Extreme condition, his mother literally got him out. Prahlad Maharaj, his father was ready to kill him. And again, of course, he was a devotee, so Lord intervened. Lord intervenes to save us. So we have to take shelter of the Lord and engage in devotional service. So that's the lesson we're getting again and again. And this Avantī Brāhmaṇa, he took to sannyas order. As a three-dandi sannyasis, he had all kind of tribulations. But he stayed determined. And his song was that no one external is responsible for what's happening to us. It's not our relatives, it's not the government, it's not even the thieves. These are all the reactions of our past karmas coming back to us. And his thought was, people dwell, when they spend a life like that and the life ends, they lived like hell, and then the afterlife is also hellish conditions. They are sent to hell. So he's experiencing that all those hellish conditions he was supposed to be suffering, he's suffering as a sannyasi. And he's tolerating. Now, somebody did ask me that how could he be singing the song where he had taken the vow of silence? So that's vow of silence is that he would use his voice only in the glorification and service of the Lord. So that's the vow of silence. So people wanted to break his vow was the factor. So this is where again we learn from Avantī Brāhmaṇa as how we should constantly be ready to tolerate the atrocities we may experience because they're just returning karmas. And at this point I would like to request any comments or further insights. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu?
In the Bhagavad Gita,
Yes, in Bhagavad Gita.
Lord Krishna gives Arjuna a couple of options,
Lord Krishna gives Arjuna a couple of options.
The best option is whether you believe me or not.
Yes, the best option is,
Give up the fruits.
yes, whether you believe me or not, just give up the fruits.
That's a very basic first step to get out of all this entanglement.
Yes. Karmane vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Everyone is focused on the first part of the phrase, Karmane vadhikaraste. You have the right to perform your duties. Ma phaleshu kadachana. But you are not entitled to the fruits of your labor. Very nice, Prabhu. Yes. Any other comment? Yes, Prabhu?
Something similar also Bhagavan says in 12th chapter.
Similarly, Bhagavan says in 12th chapter.
That first of course you should be completely devoted to Krishna.
First, we should be completely devoted to Krishna. Me. Yes.
And then if you cannot do that, please use your hard-earned money for
Yes.
propagating Krishna consciousness.
Then use your money if you can't do that, and propagating Krishna consciousness.
You cannot do any of those three.
And even for complete material, if you can't do any of those three,
At least use your money for building
at least use your money for building hospitals,
for people who
for people
who have no shelter.
who have no shelter.
But use your money.
But use your money.
So don't keep it with you.
Yes.
Just like Avantī
Yes.
Brāhmaṇa just was keeping it. So
Yes.
the problem is
When people are keeping, the problem is keeping
keeping with you.
keeping with you is the problem. Yes. very nicely. So again, there is a very nice story of Ramnath and Premnath in Shastras. In this story, what happening is Ramnath is very rich. And then he has a friend who's very poor, lives in a hut. But he sees Ramnath is like, I'm always in anxiety and he's always, carefree, relishing, rejoicing. How could it be? I have all the riches. And he realized, let me test this out. So he calls his friend Premnath. He says, take the little wealth I want to give you. So he gives him, a treasure chest, as a gift. And Premnath, he takes this chest as a gift given by my friend. Sure, why not? He keeps it. Now all night, Premnath could not sleep because his treasure chest is in a hut. And people, they know that he has treasure chest. That means they would break his heart, and try to steal away all that treasure. And he was disturbed the whole night. In the morning, he got up and took this treasure chest and gave back to Ramnath. It's like, no, I don't need it, because wealth has 15, again in this chapter is given later on, 15 kind of anarthas they gather when you have wealth. So it's very important for us to, yet at the same time, like Shyam Krishna Prabhu said, we have to use our intelligence properly. Lord Krishna says, Maya man adat swamain niveshya. So again, in 12th chapter, the 12th chapter is devotion service. Maya man adaksha maya bhakti niveshya nivasishyasi mayeva adhudhvam na sanshaya. Always think, engage your mind in thinking of me and meditating upon me. And even if you can't do that, Ata shaktim tadadhatum na shaknosi mai sthiram abhyasa yogena tato mami chatum dhananjaya. So he's saying, if you can't do that, then follow this process of abhyasa. Abhyasya samarthopi mat karma parmo bhava madartabhapi karmani kurvan siddhim avapsyasi. Even if you can't do that, work for me. And then engage your, money, wealth, mind, body and words. And of course, meditation is given and so forth. So all that description is given. Srila Prabhupada, once he was sitting, and the very first binding that the devotees had prepared of Bhagavad Gita as it is, he opened the binding. And it just fell apart. And Srila Prabhupada, disappointed in looking at this scattered book now in his hand, it's like, what can we do? What do we need so that these things don't happen? We have a good product. So Brahmana Maharaj at that time said, Prabhupada, we need to be sincere. If we were sincere, this would not happen. Prabhupada said, no. Everyone is shocked. Prabhupada said, no. Then Prabhupada said, yes, but intelligence. We need intelligence. And if we are not intelligent, then we need to seek someone who is intelligent. So again, that's why I always seek shelter of my senior godbrothers and Guru Maharaj and senior devotees of the Lord, so that with the shelter, we can go in the right path. Hare Krishna. Tantra Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Kaurya ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Śrīla Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.